Well, they're basically upping the ante because it's not just obviously either Liz Truss or Boris Johnson who are being singled out here. We just saw Emmanuel Macron of France spend hours in the presence of Vladimir Putin, trying also to talk to him and getting, a similar sort of treatment, perhaps a little bit more polite, but nonetheless, also being contradicted quite openly afterwards. I think what we're seeing is that the Russians are, as I said here, upping the ante, still continuing to escalate and keep the pressure on because they don't really have yet every piece in place for what they're threatening in terms of a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Most of the military analysts are looking at this, anticipate that there is, a period still ahead of us of a couple of weeks out to February 20th, which is coincidentally, of course, the end of the Beijing Olympics, but also is the declared end of the exercises that the Russians are conducting in Belarus and elsewhere around Ukraine's periphery. And it's then that they are, basically suggesting that the Russians will have all that it takes to launch an invasion if they so choose. So what Putin is doing is hedging. He doesn't want the pressure off. He doesn't want to basically be seen to concede the space in any way with all of the various visits. He's basically seeing what we've got to offer. So when he's saying you're not listening and you're not hearing, it's because we are not responding to what are some pretty blunt demands that the Russians have already put forward at the December of last year, towards the middle point of December 17th, in these written demands, and that they have verbally reinforced ever since. So right now, Putin doesn't want to, as I say, give way in any way to the diplomatic effort.
So what do you think? You co-authored a book, Mr. Putin, Operative in the Kremlin. So, I mean, what is he trying to achieve with all this?
Well, he's trying to achieve maximum pressure, maximum tension, keeping us all on tenterhooks and keeping us all guessing at what he's doing. And we are, of course, behaving as we normally do, which we're being very open and transparent. Our debates about what we should do, how we should coordinate are all out there in the open. And the Russians are watching this very carefully and hedging. He's trying to figure out right now what the cost is going to be of an invasion and whether he can get what he wants by some other way. So, for this, he really does need to make us feel as uncomfortable as possible. I think the biggest risk for us, besides the full-scale invasion and what this would obviously entail in Europe and globally, I mean, the reverberations would be international, but is the risk that he tries to keep this pressure for a much longer period of time. We're all looking at this magical date of after February 20th, which is probably what he wants us to be looking at, but he could keep us in this state of suspended animation for some period because he thinks we're going to crack. So what we need to do is keep unified and keep up our own pressure. Yeah,
but if he invades Ukraine, he's not going to get what he seems to want, which is this much broader security policy, much broader guarantees for Russia. I mean, if he invades, that's not going to happen, is it? So, it does seem as if he's on some sort of mission to divide the West at the moment.
I think that's absolutely right. That's exactly what he's trying to do right now, trying to humiliate us, insult people. He's trying to pick countries off and pit them against each other. And again, we have to make sure that we completely have a unified response here and are also on the same page of messaging. What he's also testing with this, kind of parade of dignitaries coming to Moscow is how much daylight there is between them. Are the messages different? Can he discern any kind of cracks? I mean, I'm sorry that, to say it, but the way that he's treating Liz Truss is just, an emblematic or a way of Lavrov, and these statements about, you're not listening is clear, pure misogyny. I mean, they're targeting her as a woman. This is a classic ploy on the behalf of the Russians. I mean, I've certainly heard them and seen them do this before, but it's, this insult to see if they can get our backs up and to see if we can get some kind of response, playing to what they see as weaknesses and vulnerabilities, trying to pick the UK off from the rest of Europe, try to see if they can inflame some of the tensions because of Brexit. So we have to be on guard against all of these kinds of behaviours and actions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in what you say, because we had Lord Darroch on the programme, the former ambassador to the US, just a little earlier. He said, too, that it was a very typical way of the Russians to deal with someone new in the Foreign Secretary's job. You go further and you say it is outright misogyny, do you?
Yes, I do. I mean, look what they did to Angela Merkel when she first became Chancellor of Germany. I mean, this is a classic story about one of her first meetings with Putin in his dacha. He knows that she's scared of dogs and allows his black Labrador to basically come and sniff around her feet. I mean, I haven't seen him try that with any of the male leaders. You know, he tries to go in for a vulnerability, assumes that women might be thrown off their game a lot more. There's, of course, a lot more women in European politics. And I mean, good luck looking for the women in Russian politics. I mean, there are a few, you know, the foreign spokesperson, central bank, for example. But, you know, he tries to take advantage of anything that he thinks might be seen as a weakness to show people up.
I mean, on the American front, is Joe Biden, do you think, doing enough to deter Putin? And I guess in the end, that's what Putin wants, isn't it? Another summit maybe with Joe Biden some way down the line?
Well, he's hinting at that and being very obvious. You know, they're even saying to, you know, the Brits, the French, and, you know, we have Chancellor Scholz of Germany heading out there soon. You know, will he say the same to them? Look, we don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to the Americans. I mean, they've made that clear at different points because they want to put the Americans in the difficult position of negotiating over the heads of everyone, Ukraine and Europe as well, to again stoke divisions. So I do think that what President Biden, his team, and everybody else, I mean, I just think there's a lot of kudos right now to everyone, European leaders, UK, for coordinating and to trying to keep our message and close consultation. We've got to keep at it because, again, we have to recognise that the Russians want to pit us against each other because they want to see what they can get out of all of us. And if there comes to be a split about how to react, and then there may be, you know, pressure that we impose on each other to basically come up with some kind of compromise that might be more to Russia's liking. And again, we must not rule out in any way, even on the things that I've said, that they will invade Ukraine because, you know, Putin will eventually have the wherewithal to do that at some point in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, you served, as I just mentioned earlier, in the Trump administration. How do you think he would be dealing with this? He had I suppose a sort of interesting, is a way of putting it, interesting relationship with Putin.
Well, it was very much a personalised relationship, and we have to avoid that at this particular point because this is about, you know, Russia and Ukraine, about European security and, you know, the actions of the Russian state and the Kremlin, you know, against a sovereign, independent neighbouring state, which again will have global reverberations. So doing it purely personally, back channels and, you know, backslapping kind of behind the door agreements is not going to be a method for success. I mean, that's exactly what Putin wanted, was this idea of a personalised relationship. And unfortunately, President Trump played right into it. And also, he also played into it by the constant rifts and fighting with European allies over a whole variety of other issues. Putin is most deterred, or let's just say he'll recalculate, if he sees unity and basically a very strong, resilient response on the part of Europe and the United States.
OK, very interesting. Fiona Hill, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.